Softboxes like this Laofas one are really popular for good reason. If you're creating videos like this, whether it be for YouTube or an online course or simply a Zoom call, they can give you much more flattering light than anything else will do. Now, I'm a big fan of LED panels. I've been using them for a long time, and while they can be really convenient, small, I personally found they were giving me a lot of shadows that I don't get out of this softbox. And if you want to see a comparison video that we did comparing the LEDs and the softboxes, you can check it out up here. We've also put a link in the description. Now, while I'm referencing our other videos, we did actually make one specifically for how to get rid of this reflection out of your glasses. So again, check that one out up here or find it down in the description. Now, I should point out that this softbox was sent to me by Pergear, and big thanks to them for letting me have a look and review it. But be assured I'm not being paid anything to do this review, so it is very much my own opinions and thoughts. And I'll tell you right at the end whether I would buy this or not. Now, this is a standard Bowens fit light, so it will fit things like this Godox light that we're using here, or bigger aperture lights. These Bowens fit tend to be the standard now, so you can go looking at different softboxes and put them back onto that original light that you've got. Again, I'll put a link to this Godox light in the description if you're wondering where that comes from. Now, there are 3 different sizes in this softbox. You can keep going bigger. Personally, I just thought that 80–90 pounds was enough to be spending on a softbox rather than going for anything bigger. But if you've got the room and the budget, why not have a look? The bigger you can get this light, the better and softer it will be. Let's backtrack. We'll unbox this and let you see how it comes out of the bag. If you've already seen that and you know it and you want to skip straight to the review, you can jump to the next chapter in the play bar. And if you haven't got a clue what I just said, don't worry, stay with me. Right, let's lift this desk. Now, if you've ever set up one of these softboxes before and you've tried to pull all those spokes in and things, it can be a nightmare, and you're absolutely going to love this one. To start with, I should just point out that it's in a really nice bag here. So we'll take all these innards out and we'll come back in a minute once we've set this up. Now, what is different about this softbox is that the spokes are already connected for you, so you haven't got to go individually poking them through. Now, on Amazon, it does say that this is a 1-minute setup, and I'm actually pretty keen to see if we can beat that. But I probably should just show you these parts that come in the bag first of all, because one of the cool things about this is it's giving you some options that you wouldn't typically get with a softbox. I don't think out of the 6 or 7 different softboxes I've got have I had other ones that give you a choice as to which diffuser to put in. So you're going to have this small one that you'll see in a minute will fit inside it. That's like a first layer of diffuser. And then what happens is you've got 2 options. You've got this thinner one here that will diffuse to 1.5 stops, and then this thicker one that is almost a bit rubbery, that is a 2.5. And then we've got this honeycomb grid that we can put over the front of it. So we'll move these out of the way, but I reckon, I'm assuming part of this 1-minute setup includes putting these on as well. Haven't checked the official rules, but we are going for a record here. We should start the timer and get going. All right, you're gonna count me in? Here we go. I reckon we keep this pointed down, and all we're going to do is work around here, clicking out these 16 spokes. That's all of them clicked in. Tuck that up. No idea what the time is. Inner diffuser goes in. And then we've gone for this thicker outside one. Feeling the pressure. Stop the clock! So we didn't actually set a timer, so we'll have to wait until editing to see whether we did it or not. Now, we'll just add in the honeycomb as well, because I reckon we could probably get this done in the same time. So start them again. How quick and easy is that as a setup? I like that, and I think it's a nice colour actually. It looks pretty smart and trendy. So yeah, there we go. There it is, put together in whatever time we managed to clock. So just to go a little bit slower over that if you missed that, all we're doing is working around inside here, and you've got these spokes that very simply just click up one at a time. It's a nice definite click in. It's a metal frame as well. I know there's another brand of these that's got a plastic frame around it. This one, you know that it's locked in. Actually, to be honest, I hadn't considered this, but now we've made it up, I reckon we could almost put this away with those innards still in. Didn't need to take that down. Actually, that's not a bad way to use this. So now that could go straight in the bag like this, and then when it comes back out again, so if you were a location shooter and you wanted to be able to take this out with you, that's all held perfectly in place. Very interesting. Wow. Well, I reckon we've just about set a new record with that. I think I could do that in about 10 seconds now that we've run it through once. Now, I jumped straight in with this 2.5 stop diffuser in here rather than this thinner one. We're going to have a look in a minute and actually connect it up here and see what a difference it makes. Personally, for me, in this setup here, I use these Godox lights that are only pretty low powered anyway, these SL60s, and we rarely get these up above 10 to 15% power. So I don't need to be trying to squeeze more light out of these lights, which would really be the reasoning why you would want this thinner one. So I'm happy to jump straight to a thicker one here and just soften and diffuse that light even more. And with the honeycomb, you know, what is the point of this? Well, you can see there that when that points straight at you, imagine that light coming through. When it turns off at an angle there, you now can't see that light coming through. It's keeping it within a 45-degree beam. So if you were in here and maybe I'd got RGB lights and I want a blue or a pinky lights and stuff going on, and I don't really want this white light just spilling into the room and softening and diluting that in effect. I really want to keep this light just close in so it's only lighting me and it really isn't going anywhere else. That's when I would put one of these on. Or maybe I want this back here coming in behind me as a rim shot. And again, I don't want that light really getting picked up or the camera seeing it. I could shoot it at an angle. What I like with this light is the options that it gives you. You might not shoot with a honeycomb grid on it all the time. I certainly wouldn't, but it's nice to know that I've got a light that could do this. If I found myself in a situation with the softbox thinking, it's a shame that light's just spilling right out to the sides, I could do with just directing it in a bit. Oh, I've got one that I can put a grid on the front of. And I think that would be one of my biggest benefits of this light is the options that it gives me. So let's put this back on here now. Let's have a look at the different images that are coming through it, and then we'll just run through some pros and cons as we see it of this light. Okay, so as we said, let's start with no diffusers in this at all. I would not want to sit here looking at this for too long. It's way too bright for me. We've actually taken the aperture down so that we can get something right. But this is 10% on the light. I can't get the light any lower. This is horrible. I feel like I'm being interrogated. But notice the difference really, and we are still getting some shadows and bits coming through on my glasses there. Looking at the sort of the shadow coming off of me here. But I'm not really looking at anything other than this. This is me as a Head and Shoulders. How is it doing? How is it complementing me? So let's put this smaller inner diffuser in now and see what difference that makes. So that's with that inner diffuser on. Now, technically that should be 1.5 stops itself, but all I can see is the reflection around the inside of this light, and that hasn't changed at all. So I don't think you would use that on its own, and I don't think that's the intention at all anyway. So let's put the 1.5 stop diffuser on first and see what we think to that. Does it make much difference shadow-wise? And we'll tweak the camera accordingly, and then we'll try the 2.5, and then we'll try the grid. So let's go with the 1.5. So diffusers on, clearly making a big difference in here for the brightness of it, and feels a lot easier to sit in front of this thing now. So let's increase the brightness on this rather than playing with the aperture, just so you can see what's happening in the light. So I'm taking this on this little Godox up from 10% to 34%, and that's Maybe we back it off a couple. There we go. 30%. That feels about right under here. And I probably should just increase that. I've got a little light at the side of me here. Because we've adjusted this aperture, it's noticeable that that's not doing as much back there. So what do we think to this 1.5 stop? Can we see much of a difference? Can you really see? There isn't a lot of shadow there. There is actually a bit here, isn't there? Does this make a lot of difference? Does it look as harsh a line under my chin there? So I reckon let's step this up now and see what the 2.5 does. So interesting difference there, 2.5 stops rather than the 1.5. This 30% on the light needs to go up again. I'm now at about 50%, 55. Now that then is, I think, given a consistent look. Now what I would do, we've pushed this light up really bright and we've then kept this room down. That's not how I typically would work. I wouldn't want this light at 50%. It's too much in front of me. So now what I'm going to do in the camera is just take the aperture down, widen up this aperture and pull this light. You'll see that we can pull this light right back to about 10% again. And let's just see if we like the look of this. So this is back to where I would have it. My camera's on f1.8, which means it's letting in a whole lot of light. And as you can see here, I am back to 10% on this SL60. That feels super comfortable to me. This is barely even noticeable at the side of me, this bit of light. It's doing a really nice job. It's not as extreme now because the room lights are suddenly lifted. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm really balancing this out. I'm not now creating such a strong moody effect. Maybe that is a look that you want. The lighting actually in the room here, it is doing what it's doing back there behind me. This is really just here for me on my face. And I like this look. I think this is working well. So again, shadows, very, very subtle. You're always going to get a bit of something there for having that so close to me. So I think this with the 2.5 times diffuser is working really well. Now, does it make any difference if we put this honeycomb grid on the front of it? Let's finally have a look at that one. So it has darkened that down, interestingly enough. So I am now needing to increase this light back up in order to get the same thing. It's not having any impact really on shadows as far as I can see it. All it's really done is if you were elsewhere in this room, that light now isn't spreading to the sides. It is just coming straight down here at me. So for me, the honeycomb grid in this setup isn't anything that I would want. If that was a blue color that I was putting behind me and I'd got the other lights turned off and I wanted to concentrate this light on me just now, then yeah, maybe. But with that as a white light back there, this isn't something that I would keep on. So as I see it, what are the pros and the cons of this light? Well, we saw that it had some nice packaging for it, and that might be interesting for some, maybe not for others. This is really quick to set this light up. And as you saw, once you've set it up once, you can compact that down. Super quick to put that up, literally seconds, and this light is up and ready to go. The two diffusers, the 1.5 stop, the 2.5 stop. I think that's great. I haven't seen that on other lights that I've bought, that they give you that option to change this around. There might be a time when I think, oh, I could just do with a bit more light out of this. I could change that over and it would give me it. You get that honeycomb grid on the front of it as well. And I think really between those three things, I mentioned it earlier, I think options is something that I like about this softbox and the setup that we've got here. Compared to others that I've looked at and reviewed, this is pretty compact, front to back. It's not taking up a lot of space here. And it's pretty lightweight as well. I've got a big Niwa one and it really is hard to just put on the front here. It kind of hangs off and I don't feel like it's even locked in place on that Godox light. I certainly couldn't put that on a boom arm, whereas I could with this. It gives, I think, a pretty good even light out of it, and I have to say, I think it's a nice design. Those red sporty lines on it make it pretty cool. So are there any cons? Well, I have to say this is a very competitive space. There are a lot of softboxes. We've reviewed stacks of them, and all of the ones that we've reviewed have been cheaper than this. Even the big Godox lantern. The only thing really that this has got that they haven't has been that honeycomb grid on the front. And I'm not really using that. So while it's got that honeycomb grid on the front, I do feel it's slightly dearer than some very good competition. Now I know you could argue and say that the Aperture Softbox is dearer than this, probably double the price of it, but I'm looking at the cheaper competitors. Talking about those competitors, in that softbox shootout that we did, we came up with the Selens light that really stood out above the others. It was actually even easier and quicker than this one to put it up, and I have to say it had a slightly more even light spread across it than this one. We'll actually put a comparison video together for you, and I'll put a link to it up here. Now, that said, I'm talking about lights sitting side by side. If you took this and you didn't know any different, you would be completely happy with this. It is a great light, as I say, but that's why you're watching a review like this, because you want me to tell you what I really think to it, right? So as I wrap this video up, let me just finally say I do like this light. I think it's really nice, it's compact, it's stylish, it does a great job, and I think more than anything, the options it gives me here. It's a very versatile light that I can open up and close away in seconds. Fantastic, well done, great design. But if I'm honest and I'm not using that honeycomb grid in this setup, I would probably save that $10 and get that Selens light, which in my opinion just gave a softer, more even light and slightly wider as well. So I hope you found that useful. Do let us know. Check out those other videos that I've mentioned earlier. They're all down there in the description, and I look forward to helping you in one of those other videos. All the best. That was 30 doing it then. You're challenging me.